Welcome to Mindfully with Tumishe, the podcast that invites you to explore mental health with honesty, compassion, and openness. Each week, your host, Tumishe Oladapokuku, shares personal stories and stories from people like you. Together, we'll confront mental health myths and build a space where imperfection isn't feared but embraced. From self-esteem struggles to relational conflicts, we're here to discuss it all, with guidance from experts and real raw stories that inspire healing. It's time to live mindfully. It's time to be compassionate with ourselves and each other. Mindfully with Tumishe, new episodes every week, available wherever you listen to podcasts or at blackimages.com.
Hey, mindful partners. I hope you're breathing well today. This isn't one of those episodes you will want to rush through. I think it's one you would love to sit with. What you're about to hear is not just a reflection, but an invitation. An invitation to consider grief. Not as sorrow after loss, but as a quiet presence that walks with us through unmet dreams, delayed hopes, and tender changes. So, find your breath, find your stillness, and let's journey into what it means to sit with grief fully and mindfully. One of the most uncomfortable things we don't want to talk about, or even talk about healthily aside from death, is how we navigate life's crippling events. You know those ones, the ones society doesn't name? The taboo moments that shape how we relate to people and with people, many of them born from abuse and all its relatives. When people hear the word abuse, it's not only triggering, it's also crippling. I believe it's triggering because we only understand abuse in its loudest forms. We're talking rape, we're talking physical and domestic violence, or emotional manipulation, which is now quite rife and common in social spaces. But who talks about the plan that was scuttled? The one near execution until life happened? What about when the reality of a dream, a job, or a friendship doesn't align with the expected end? You know, the one you carefully put on your vision board, your journal, and in the big picture prayers? We really talk about the pain that comes with normal rites of passage, especially when those rites keep skipping over us. You know, those ones. I should have gone to the university at the age of 16, 17, 18. Oh, I finished university. I should get a job. Oh, it's time for me to get married. But somehow everyone around me is, and it's not happening to me. Oh, let's talk about that promotion that you have been praying and working towards for about 3 years, and you didn't get it because someone else got it. Not because you were bad or you didn't do well at the interviews, but that just happened. Someone is asking me, why would anyone want to dwell on negative moments, especially in a world that is obsessed with positive thinking? And yes, maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here because it's mindfully with Timisha after all. Because I'm one of those who believe in the power of the mind and how it reflects in the world that we see. But follow me. It's not that I'm against positive thinking. It's a good mechanism, to be honest, one that empowers us to navigate the real hard times. But here's something I say often: we all know how to navigate joy, we all know how to ride the highs, but we do not really know how to sit with the bad, the lows, or how to prepare for it. And that might be off by a few margins, but I believe that most cultures discourage preparing for pain. I'm not saying all cultures. To prepare for pain, they say, is to welcome it. Why else do words like will or final testament, insurance make people uncomfortable? Let me ask you, why do all these scenarios, yes, the ones I've painted, maybe the ones that came up for you, even as I spoke and you listened, make you uneasy? What exactly is the fear behind our refusal to embrace the unpleasant? Again, I may be off by some margin, but I think the simple word for all of this is grief. Grief is such a complex thing that most of us have no idea how to deal with, to prepare for it, or even whether we should prepare for that, and most painfully, how to go through. A close friend of mine once asked me, or once said to me, Michelle, is it because you've experienced so much death and loss that you can navigate grief so easily? And to be honest, I hadn't even realized I did navigate grief easily, at least the kind tied to death, until she pointed it out. We explored this in an old episode with a said friend and another friend in the episode titled Grieving is Living, the one they talked about loss. So, this is not Mindfully with Tumiche's first rodeo on grief. You could also check out A Princess Journey Through Loss and Legacy from some other perspective on this particular kind of grief. The grief captured in these episodes was tailored towards the loss of loved ones. But grief, the grief that I speak of today, is broader. And as a deeply rooted Yoruba woman or girl who also communes with the divine through Christ, I see life through a blend of the spiritual and the esoteric. Walk with me, don't worry, I'm not going to lose you. So, in preparation for this, looking through grief, I collected a few definitions on grief or of grief. The basic psychological definition says grief is the natural response to loss, often experienced through emotions like anger, guilt, sadness, or numbness. I'm sure we've all felt this, and it's not wrong. But to me, it felt incomplete. It doesn't speak, or it didn't speak to the polarity of existence or the way I thought I navigated grief. Again, it's my opinion. On my search journey to understanding what grief is and from other people's perspective, I come across this reflection from one of my favoritist, know what like that? Author and apologist, C.S. Lewis alongside David Kessler. Listen to what they said. Grief is love's shadow. It is the price we pay for deep attachment to people, to places, to identities, and the seasons of our lives. Now that captures 90% of how I truly experience grief and how I think grief should be navigated. How we should see grief, because it's not just a death. There are a lot of things happening in our lives, the loss of identities, the loss of what should have been and wasn't. It spans the whole spectrum of what can be lost in life. There are good attachments, yes. Of course, we have bad attachments too. And there's a plethora of psychological terms. There's the Stockholm syndrome, there's the this and that. There's trauma bonding, I hear now. And all of them carry a cost when severed. For example, if you're inclined to do an ancestry audit, which simply means sitting down with the stories that trail your lineage, I guarantee you'll find parts of your history you're proud of, and there will be parts you'd wish your ancestors had handled better. And depending on how evolved and spiritual you are, you'll grieve those decisions too, the good and the bad, because they've passed on patterns, pain, or silence. That is grief, the price of attachment. So, what is the cultural lens, you might be asking, or the spiritual one? In many African traditions, grief is not just an emotion, it is a ritual. It is a communal conversation between the living and the ancestors. Grief honors the cycle of life, it doesn't try to escape it. Now, again, this is where I am sad, as people say now. Some may cringe when someone says they're comfortable with unpleasant things. Trust me, I've gotten a couple of pushbacks when I talk about death in social media. People close with me, they think it's crazy. But for me, it is sitting with the unpleasant that the beauty of the pleasant becomes more radiant. One of my favorite Yoruba aphorism is tibi, tiri, daye, and I'm sure you've heard that almost all the time on the show, or if you follow me on socials. Aye here could be referencing humanity or the earth. We were created with both the good and the bad. Tibi, tiri, daye. Not very far from the Eastern concept of yin and yang. The truth is, we know these things deep down, but we resist them until life throws the unpleasant our way and we do not know how to sit with it or let it teach us. And yet, the world is full of these polarities. Dark skies are beautiful, but dark days are depressing. The sunrise is breathtaking, but its rays could burn you. You want the honey, but not the bitter. And now, speaking of bitter, okay, I don't know if you know this. Again, I'm sorry if you're not Yoruba, I'll try my best to transliterate. We say that adun longbeyin ewuro. Ewuro here is the bitter leaf. And the concept here is, after you have chewed on the bitter leaf, it leaves, after the bitter taste is gone, it leaves a bittersweet taste in your mouth. If you've not tried it, try it, because I heard that as a child, and I literally went to the family garden and plucked a leaf of ewuro, bitter leaf, and literally I felt the bittersweet aftertaste. And that day, I probably was around 11, 12 when I did that. I understood this adage or aphorism that says, adun longbeyin ewuro. Still speaking of bitter, I practice all forms of exercises, and because of flexibility, I enjoy yoga. My online teacher, that is in huge parenthesis because it's on YouTube, while guiding me through a very difficult pose, shared a Sanskrit phrase, it bitter. This refers to the power of embracing discomfort for the sake of detoxification. And I looked it up. It made sense. Because, as with everything, moderation is key. Too much grief with no processing can lead to depression. Avoiding grief altogether could lead to unresolved pain, quietly shaping how we live, love, and respond. Remember, we're not talking about the grief that comes with the loss of a loved one. We're talking about the grief that is silent because we do not know that is grief. A lost job, a lost friendship, a phone that you were attached to, an accident that you had to deep into your savings to fix the car. Those little things that happen daily, but we do not understand that the pain that came from that little event has caused a chip in our heart and needed to be grieved. Yes, I said it. Let's talk about too much joy. Too much joy can spiral into debauchery if we don't ground it. So, may I invite you to do something simple but very sacred today as you listen. Sit with your fear of loss. Don't wallow in it, but learn. Let it be your teacher. And through mindfulness, learn to see it with grief rather than suppress it. It would not be a real Mindfully with Tumishe episode without a story, yeah? So here goes. About 2 years ago, my family and I believed in what we thought we needed at the moment. We did everything. It was a promotion that we thought we needed at the moment, or we deserved at the moment.
Sometimes clarity comes in silence. Other times it takes a gentle nudge, a conversation, a question, or a pause you didn't know you needed. That's what BHM coaching at Black Images offers. Not a fix, not a formula, but a space. One where your story is safe and your growth doesn't have to look like anyone else's. You can begin with a free discovery session. Just 30 minutes to breathe, reflect, and maybe, if you're up for it, sit with guided meditation. If life feels loud and you need support now, there's mindful coaching on the go. Short, focused check-ins that help you stay grounded when things feel shaky. For deeper shifts, there's the Journey to Being, a mindful exploration shaped by the framework from the book Living Mindfully, A Journey to Being. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence. And if you're someone who needs steady hands over time, the monthly and community plans are there, offering consistent support that grows with you. Visit blackimages.com when you're ready, not to be fixed, but to be seen.
Probably that's the better word. We did everything that was morally, legally, and spiritually needed to birth this promotion. And as people of faith, we fasted, we prayed, we believed that it was settled. We confessed as much positive as we could. And we called it forth. Uh, Another word or another phrase for manifesting whatever that is. The energy was charged and positive. We even got the children to join in prayers. Then the response came to our request. It was negative, not what we expected. My first thought and prayer was, I thought you said my expectations would not be cut short. So what exactly is going on here? And I entered this rabbit hole of what ifs. I cried, I questioned, and then came the part where we had to tell the children that what we believed for, the prayer that we made, what we believed for, didn't come through. Funny enough, they took it better than I did. I wish I could say I came out of that broken expectation quickly, or that I accepted the comfort I believed was coming to me from God. Oh, I was angry. I was upset. Amid my emotional spiral, both my children at different points woke up to me and said, Mommy, it is not that we didn't deserve this promotion. It might not just be the time yet. What did they say about the mouths of babes again? With this came some sort of acceptance, but it did take me a while for my faith to be rejuvenated. I started to pray with caution. All bold prayers flew out of the window. And that time taught me the real understanding, or I came to the real understanding of thy will be done. To be honest, I am still healing from that experience. Yet, I am now hopeful that when life and God throw a spanner in my life's wheel, it may be just that, or something more, spiritually complex. In the surrender, though, I find a peace to navigate. What was it that Jesus said? In this world, you will have troubles, but rejoice, I have overcome the world. No, it doesn't sound like comfort. So I know, because yes, I'm in the world and troubles come every day. But what else can you do when you have done all you know to do? You stand. The conclusion of this matter, at least for this episode, I'm making it short for a lot of reasons. The conclusion is we grieve more than just death. We grieve lost dreams. We grieve delayed rites of passage, forgotten parts of ourselves. And what this episode is doing is simply inviting you to sit with that grief that seems or that is seemingly small. Not just the loud kind, but that quiet ache that lingers in everyday life. Because you will act it out because of this unresolved pain, something you can't not talk about because it's not the loud kind of grief. So, as I close out today's reflection, like I said, I'm making it very, very short. I am inviting you to take this gentle work a step further with your pen, with your notes up on your phone, and most importantly, your quiet honesty. Here's the first prompt. What is one small loss that you haven't given yourself permission to grieve. And let me explain that. I need you to work towards that. Explore what makes it feel small. And when you're writing this, what would it mean to honor that pain fully? Remember, nothing is stupid here. Nothing is too mundane for you to explore here. So, I repeat, what is that one small loss that you have not given yourself permission to grieve? Got that? 2. Where in my life have I held on to an old version of myself out of fear of grief that comes with letting go? You know what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. The old friends, the thought pattern that doesn't serve, the negative thoughts, and some positive things that has happened. Let's be fair. Some friends, a job that you know you should have moved on from, but you're afraid that the pain that will come from making that decision will cripple you. How could releasing that version create a space for something new? Got that? Now, the last one for this episode, that is, if you could sit with your grief as a teacher, what would it say to you today? All right. You would personalize this. So let me say it the way you should say it. If I was saying it to you, were saying it to yourself, for example, you would be saying, if I could sit with my grief as a teacher, what would it say to me today? At this point, let your grief speak back to you. Write a letter to it and let it speak back to you. Write it as a conversation and listen without judgment. So off you go. Find a quiet corner. Grab a journal. Grab your phone. Put it on airplane mode so you're concentrating and focusing on this task. Take a breath. Let your grief be your guide, at least just for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you really take time to let your grief speak to you and heal through whatever comes up for you as you navigate. Remember, you can support Mindfully with Tumishe by following the show on socials, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, rating the show everywhere and anywhere you're listening to the podcasts, and most importantly, sharing this show, maybe this episode or any episode that you've listened to, with people in your life who may need a little pick-me-up or two. Until next time, stay gentle with yourself. Love yourself. Love your neighbor. Love your country. Above all of these, love God. He is the essence of your being. I am Oluwatumishe Oladakbo Kuku.
This is Mindfully with Tumishe, brought to you by Black Images.